Welcome to the Sacred Window podcast. Here, we look closely at the intersections of the postpartum window, the Ayurvedic perspective on health and healing, and the universal mother principles that are the keys to giving and receiving effective care. Hello, I'm Christine Devlin Eck. I'll be taking you through interviews with professionals who are making a profound difference in the lives of their clients, conversations with individuals brave enough to share their stories of vulnerability as a way to lift up others, and my own journey through birth, parenting, caregiving, and building a conscious business. We are here to honor the sacred windows, the profound transitions in life that give it all meaning. Welcome to the conversation.
And I will never be the same again.
Welcome, everybody, to our roundtable discussion on integrating postpartum care with social services. It's just a really phenomenal conversation to have that has been brewing for years, honestly. And I'm really happy to welcome you all here. And I know many more of you are going to be listening to this recording. And this is really just an opportunity for all of us collectively to start to think about bringing postpartum care awareness to everybody. This work is all about providing a better experience after birth for literally every family in the world that we can reach. So we've had a number of students over the years who have come in with social work in their background and working with different groups, different nonprofits. And so right now, we have Ayana Muhammad, who's been in our program for a couple of years. She attended our retreat last year. She's just such an amazing person that I'm so happy to have grown our relationship with each other, Ayana, over the past couple of years. Brooke is newer in our program this year, and she's just been doing such incredible work. I'm going to let them talk more about their specific backgrounds. But both of these caregivers are moms. They are driven to learn more about how we heal completely postpartum and how they can bring that back to their communities and the work that they've done in the past with a variety of populations. But it's really about like strengthening our field in general. And we're all kind of pioneers. I feel like we're all really pioneers. And how are we learning this work ourselves to apply it to ourselves? And then how can we make a difference? It's really about how can we make a difference for others. And so thank you, Ayana and Brooke, for being willing to talk about your backgrounds and your thoughts and experiences. And then we can collectively brainstorm how to take what we know from the Ayurvedic perspective, from a holistic perspective, and apply it to the systems that are already in place. So I'll be kind of here as a facilitator and sort of, collective contributor to this conversation today. For those of you who are here listening, we have some questions that we'll go through with Ayana and Brooke. If you have questions, please feel free to pop them in the chat. We're hoping to have some space at the end where we can open it up and hear some of your thoughts and experiences, and of course, questions that you might have. So Ayana, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself, and then Brooke will have you go after that. So please tell us, Ayana, what your background is with the groups that you've worked with, and what has brought you to expand your work into postpartum care with Ayurveda.
Hey, thank you. So my background is in caregiving and mothering and healing anyway. I'm a massage therapist. I'm a self-taught chef. I've always, healing with my hands. And I've always had a fascination with the the full gamut of the matrescence and just the introduction into motherhood as a whole. And I've had interest in becoming a doula before I knew what it was, and then it went a little bit further when I decided that I wanted to become a midwife. But I decided that, just like with anything like in the medical thing with midwifery, it takes a longer time and lots of experience, lots of wisdom. So I've um, come through a, a couple of birth working trainings, and I'm always getting like, I'm just adding more things to my toolbox so that I can give and offer up to my clients and the community in general. And just to educate and be like one that can educate, like a community medicine woman healers type of a person. Um, the communities that I have served mostly have been women of the diaspora, Black women, or some Hispanic women. And most of them have been young moms, like 20s, in the whole range of like young 20s to like right before 30s. Um, Married and unmarried, and most of them have had my when I was in their life helping and supporting them, it was with their first pregnancy, their first baby. And they had an idea of like what they wanted and everything. So they knew about what I found is what people know what they want in pregnancy, they would know what they want in labor and delivery. But no one typically makes a plan for postpartum. And that's where we come in. So I have noticed that even for my own self with my own three children, I had everything all figured out for the pregnancy and the labor and delivery, but like the what's next after you have this little person or a couple of little people, depending on, how many babies you've had, and the going home and figuring it out. So um I find that I like the idea of being able to support women and their families and their support systems in the after, because that's like when, not to say when the other parts don't really count, but that's when people don't have support, and that's when things can kind of fall apart. So that has been my experience.
Yeah, yeah. And Ayana, your background, the organization that you've worked with is WIC, and you were, remind me, a breastfeeding
Yes, I was
counselor.
I believe the title is called breastfeeding peer counselor, where with WIC, and where they brought the mamas in pregnant and all the way up and through, supported them up and through the children are 5 years old, with breastfeeding education and health and nutrition education, and to kind of what is the word? Try to watch for and prevent things that can come up, like medical concerns that can come up with the breast, like mastosis or um, engorgement, extreme engorgement, and things like that. Hmm.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Ayana. Brooke, I'd love to hear from you, your experience with the organizations you've worked with, and also what has led you to expand into postpartum care and Ayurveda.
Sure. So I have a human service degree from Fitchburg State, and I always wanted to work with families. I didn't really know where I wanted to go with it at first, and I worked with multiple organizations, and then I found Healthy Families that I hadn't heard of previously. I started working with them. The program that I specifically worked for supported first-time parents under the age of 24, um, from pregnancy through the child's third birthday. Some of their programs, the age varies for the higher range, but can go as young as someone birthed a child. So we had women or children as young as 13, um, 12, and we supported them through the whole process. So that really kind of got me interested in working with families and women through this, because the need was so so high, and it's a population that kind of gets almost looked down upon instead of supported. Um, and then let's see, more into the doula spectrum. I helped my sister. She has four children, and I was there for the birth of all four of her children. And I loved every minute of it. She was shocked. I was shocked. The doctors were like, "You pretty much birthed her children and had no idea what you were doing, and you did great." And they actually, it was funny, when it was time to cut the umbilical cord for her first child, the doctors handed the scissors to me, and I was like, I'm not doing that. That's the dad's job. But I was just so into it that they just assumed, here you go. So that kind of really opened my eyes to the birthing experience, and then helping her postpartum with her kids at home. We lived together at the time, and just being there to support her because the dad went right back to work. He had to be able to support them, and so it was nice to be able to be there to help her at home because you're so tired in the beginning. You're so stressed. Everything's so new. You don't know what to expect with your first kid, especially. So being hand in hand with her definitely opened up my eyes. Um, yes. So then currently I am 3 months postpartum, and it made me want to kind of help others uh, in the same boat and in the same period in their life. So I just began this program. So it's great to kind of grow.
It's amazing. It's such a blessing that you were there for your sister for all of those births and to be in her home and really seeing it up and, close and personal. Thank
Yeah.
you both for talking a little bit about your background, and I think we all can feel that passion and drive within you as we sort of recognize it in ourselves too. Brooke, I'm going to start with you for this first question, and I want to jump into really looking at what are and you can speak to healthy families, Ayana, you can speak to WIC and to other, any other frames of reference you have in your backgrounds. What are these programs doing well? Like, how are they serving families really well? How is it working? And I'll start with you, Brooke, and then we'll move to you, Ayana.
Sure. So the program Healthy Families I worked for, I will say they did great, um, kind of preparing moms for what to expect. It gave wiggle room for what that mom specifically wanted to learn more. Every week you'd say, what can I bring for you next week? What can we go over? What are you thinking about? What are you wondering? So it really gave that room for growth of the parent themselves, and and to kind of personalize it per family, because every family is going to be different. Every family is going to have different experiences or different knowledge, or um so I really liked how personal it was per family. And then for postpartum, we did a lot of check-ins every week. The first question, the your whole visit was framed in like a certain framework that they had built. And the first question every week is, how is your week as a parent? So it gave them space to open up. Like, normally you get asked, how are you? Oh, good, and it kind of dies off. And then, okay, like, what are we going to talk about? No, how is your week as a parent? Really in depth. Like, I'm tired, or this week was hard. This week was great. The baby's doing all these new things. So it depended on the family, but that question really helped frame the whole visit. You knew exactly what was going on with the family, what they needed, what they were wondering. Um, so I think they did great framework for the program in general. Um, and then the information that we offered was great. We gave a lot of information. Every week you'd bring something new, but it was very basic in a sense. Like, we gave breastfeeding knowledge, but it would be like a pamphlet. It wasn't like hands-on or anything. So it was great to a sense, but if we all know, breastfeeding is more than just this pamphlet. There's so much more. There's so many more parts to it that this pamphlet may not help. So they give a lot of good information, but just very basic and short and to the point, which sometimes is great too, because the overload right after birth, you could only take in so much at a time, you know? the little bits might stick with you, but if you're giving too much, it's not going to stick. It's going to go right in one ear, right out the other. So I would say that they do it great as well.
Um, thank you so much, Brooke.
Yeah.
So, Ayana, when you're thinking about your experiences as a counselor with WIC, what went well? Like, what was a good support for the families that you were working with?
Well, I would say that WIC was highly organized. They've been in business for a really long time. So they were highly organized, and they had lots of information and lots of kind of local resources for families to plug into. And they had they same similar to healthy families, they were structured so that they had information going, and it was like a two-way communication situation going on from uh like the different mile markers throughout the mom's pregnancy, and then of course into the immediate postpartum and afterwards upwards to age 5 of the child. They would have these communications. We were able to communicate with our participants with the phone, via text, email, and everything else. So they gave them exposure. They had a thing where they gave exposure and almost maybe a flooding of information, like, we have all of this information for you, we have all, but it was structured. But it kind of empower the participants to say, if you want this, or we have this available for you. um so not too pushy. So but and again, they had options for them too. If the mother was opting to you know to not do breastfeeding, they didn't shame them. So they gave offers and supports for that too. And for the mothers and parents who wanted to opt to do like breastfeeding and nursing, they literally had tools available to give, from manual pumps to one's electric pumps that they had available to give, and other uh tools, to help the mom along the journey afterwards. So as far they had supplies, supplies and information, an abundance of it, and it was readily available.
That's awesome. I mean, that's a huge part of our job as care providers when, we're studying to be postpartum doulas. A huge part of it is how, are we sitting down and, spending time and space to connect with this family? Are we giving them the opportunity to share with us? Are we, giving them our attention? And so that sounds like that's there, especially, Brooke, I love how you talked about that opening question of how is your week as a parent? So it's not just like, how are you? It's not generic, it's targeted so that they can give us the information that will help us to support them best. And then certainly education is a huge part of our role. Um, so yeah, okay. So this is really great. And let's go into what are the gaps? Like, where is it falling short? And Ayana, why don't I start with you with this one? Where, were the gaps?
There were certainly gaps because, again, like I said, they were abundant in information and tools to plug into, but the gaps were the information was generic information, and it was definitely cookie cutter. So it would be up to the individuals in those closed door sessions to have the conversation, like Brooks to say, okay, let's talk. The door is closed. What's going on? Do you want to talk to me about anything? For it to be a personalized, curated experience with the breastfeeding peer counselors like myself, and the moms and the families for that matter, um, to offer in other supports that were outside of the framework of just, nutrition and breastfeeding information. So things about like just pushing in, like, an awareness of well-being components, breath work, um, things like that. So they, you know, without bad mouthing the government too much, um, you know, WIC is a government organization, and they they're the best interest. It's the people behind the scenes that make the things happen with the people, like that go beyond what the framework of the organization has set up. So that's where things would fall through the cracks. And also with WIC specifically, there was if you could possibly have too much income to participate, and then you couldn't participate, and which is sad, because it's just like the information should be free, even if the tools weren't, maybe. So there was that. And then also the cutoff, it's just like, we got you from like the time that you're pregnant up until your child is 5. Then it's just like, what after the child is 5? So there was a couple of things where it's just like, yeah, it's falling short here. So yeah.
You so much, Ayana. Brooke, what are your thoughts about where the gaps were? I know you started to talk about that a little bit with, the information just being a little inadequate, but what else, describe that a little more, the
Yeah.
gaps.
So that would definitely be one that it was more information on a paper or a packet or a little, they wanted to leave like one little note in the person's head, which is great. But in reality, throughout the week, when the parent's actually going through these things for the first time, whether it's teething or breastfeeding or whatever it may be, that's only getting them so far. Um, and I would say that that's definitely one of them. We work great with referrals and things like that. But again, when it came to the postpartum, we focused on the child's development, and mom kind of gets pushed to the side a little. Um, you asked her how she's doing for her week, and we did like the 6 month postpartum um, s- like stress and feelings questionnaire, same that you'd get at like a doctor's postpartum visit. And if they scored badly on it, you would give them a referral to like a counselor or to a doctor or to, depending on how bad, if they needed like emergency services. But other than that, there wasn't much we could offer them besides a referral. And then when that hour's over, you go home or you go back to the office, and it almost seemed like some of them, you just kind of, the referral wasn't enough and you almost feel bad, leaving, and you go home wondering um, about them as a person, as a family, as a mom, So I feel like that's also one. Like the referrals are great, but the mom needs more support than's being offered. The focus was mainly on the children.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you so much, Brooke.
of course.
Yeah, so really I can see how the difference is, when we're looking at working with a client, like nothing is cookie cutter because we're looking at the specific constitution, the birth circumstances, the family circumstances, the support circumstances, the prior, health circumstances before they gave birth. There's so many things that we take into consideration that direct the type of support or the ways that will show up, and it's unique to each person. So it sounds to me like these programs are really approaching everybody with sort of, this is the same info you get, this is the same protocol that we go through. And yeah, and then there's that, those other spaces of you know, they don't qualify for this service or they're too
Mhm.
old for this service, which is problematic, of course. And then, finally, I heard you guys talk about how, you know, when, just giving a referral or passing them off, it doesn't feel good because, we know that we've kind of developed this trust with them and it doesn't feel right to just sort of pass them along to someone else. So yeah, those definitely are huge gaps. So I would love to kind of move into another, like the next layer, which is looking at, the two of you. Let's take you, in your paths here. You're moving into um, a much more conscious way of understanding postpartum. And like, what are the ways that with this information that, we're bringing through, really prioritizing the parent's healing journey as the most important, healing after postpartum, really mother parent centered. How could you influence the work that you were doing, working with these families with what you know is so important for postpartum care? And I'll start, Ayana, why don't I start with you?
One thing is kind of like akin to what Brooke was saying is this it should be family centered. So everyone is highlighted. The newborn, the siblings that are already there, if there are any pre-existing siblings, mom's partner, and then the immediate family that's going to be around them. So bringing in awareness that, I am available, or there's a whole team of us available to support you as a new family, because that the whole take a village concept is very real. It's not just one person, and it's not just one family. It's a whole network. So I think pushing the agenda of the network, we're taking care of, like, this community. It's a community situation. It's a community offering, I think, is one of the biggest ways, because a lot of people, and I've noticed a lot of male partners they're like, I feel left out. What about me? What can I do? Sort of a thing. And it's just like, you're a part of this. Like, get over here. You get to be a part of the huddle. You're a part of this too. So that's one thing that I have noticed. And then I feel like also just exposure. So, like, exposure, meaning making people aware, just in every it's easy to, like, make people aware when you're finding people that are in where birthing people are, but I think it should be common conversation in general. So, like, maybe you're not pregnant, but someone that is. Maybe there's a neighbor, so it should be just a talking piece, and maybe even like public workshops and things, like, just maybe a constant, so that it's just like, it's here, we're here, it's everywhere. This is not a luxury. This is a necessity, and it should be commonplace.
How are you sharing your gifts and passion for caregiving with others? In a world where education and awareness around the postpartum window is lacking or missing from our modern systems, we have a profound opportunity to shift that paradigm. You may be a few simple offerings away from making a truly impactful difference in the lives of mothers and families in your community. We are here to support your journey in the ways that work best for you. Schedule a conscious care strategy session to meet one-on-one with me, and let's identify the right next step for you to begin a path of conscious care for new families that fits your life and your needs. Visit www.sacredwindowstudies.com/strategy-session to schedule a time that works best for you. That's www.sacredwindowstudies.com/strategy-session. Yeah, and I just got, sort of, it's like where are, these people and families, like, where are the different touch points in their lives? Is it the preschools? Is it their care providers' offices? Is it the even libraries, or things like, being able to provide almost like just drop-in education, or like circles or gatherings, so this becomes just messaging that is heard, and it's just part of the community that they're in. Yeah, yeah. Did you have anything else that you wanted to add into that, Ayana? I kind of jumped on your.
No. It was you were basically, like, taking the words out of my mouth. And I guess just one more thing, like, to say, just as, like, it needs to be far reaching, far beyond, you know, like I said, areas where you might find birthing people. It should be far reaching, because at some point someone's going to be a birthing person, so it's just like, the schools, the libraries, the grocery store, car dealerships, like wherever people are, the conversation should be had, because it's like someone, either if it's not them, it's someone they know will fit into the category at some point. So
Yeah, I love that. So yeah, Brooke, like when you think about what your, goals are for moving into this role as a conscious postpartum doula, how can that blend with the work that you do with healthy families?
So, I think focusing on like Ayana said, not just the child or just the mom, but the family in a whole, is so important. There were times where um, dad would join the visit, very seldom, but it did happen. And in, introducing them to not just the program, but to like themselves as a participant, like I'm not going to just ask mom like what she's stressed about or what she's wondering, like open it up to dad too. What questions do you have? Because sometimes too, even when they do join or are part of, they don't get their own like spotlight, they just kind of join in with whatever mom's going through. Or and I think it's important, like dad's going through it too. um they have questions. They may be a first time dad. They may have things that they stress about, but mom's going through so much, they're not going to put it on her or stress her out more or give her more to think about. So giving them the space as well. Um, and then kind of bringing mom and dad and the whole family like peace while you're there. Like, what can I do while I'm here to bring like stress relief or just a piece of peace or a time of peace while I'm here. Um, I know sometimes it's like what we cook or what we give them to drink, something warm, um, or like the just the time and the conversation that might be had or questions answered. Um, I think just the whole perspective that you bring makes a difference.
Yeah, like actually being able to feel free to do something hands-on that is needed in that moment.
Yeah.
Bringing them some tea, serving them something warm and sweet. Yeah, as opposed to just giving them a whole bunch of information
Information.
or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, being able to care for someone more than just on the books. Yeah.
So this is awesome. So one thing I love about the doula scope of practice is that we lie outside of that very structured system of medical care and in our country and other countries too. We are not licensed practitioners. We are care providers who don't diagnose, don't treat, don't um, prescribe. So we've got this ability to be supporting someone during this recovery window, and yet everything we do is non-medical. And so we get this opportunity to work with people very intimately. We become sort of their it's almost like we create the facilitation for them to receive the care that they need because we're helping to, I always see like, we're like the path clearers, where are the obstacles? Let me move that out of the way. Let me make this easier. We're kind of there to help the process along because their body knows how to heal. They're, naturally going to heal if we can create the conditions for them to do so that are optimal for them. So I think that, within our ability to do that, and this brings me to kind of interject, Ayana, what you and I were talking about when we first hopped on here, which is that Medicaid and insurance in general is starting to cover doula support. So this is huge for helping families that, either didn't have the financial ability to hire doulas, but also for families that may still have it in their head that getting support after birth is a luxury that I shouldn't budget for, or whatever the story might be there. Um, how do you see, like, can someone who works with these groups, WIC, Healthy Families, whatever the company is, can they also be able to practice as the family's doula? Is this is a role that can practically be blended? And
Um,
maybe, yeah, Ayana, you go ahead.
so as in my opinion, like I said with WIC, their priority is that they are a USDA government agency. So could it be mainstream? Maybe not exactly, because there's a fine line, and they have a lot of you're regulated a lot to be within the guidelines for what it is that you are doing and how you're supporting based on what they say. Um, but of course, if the door is closed and you're just having a conversation with another human being, you can offer supports that way. So as I say, where there's a will, there's a way, and you're just taking care of people. So I think it depends on the individual um, who is employed and representing WIC and how they go about things, because some of the people who work there um, are well intended, but it is, it's the job ends when they clock out, sort of the thing. So it really just depends on the individual. Um, yeah, because I definitely went above and beyond with the people that I was blessed to work with, because that's what I knew that I wanted to help them beyond the paperwork. So I think it depends on the individual.
Yes, yes, that makes a lot of sense. Brooke, what's your thought on this for healthy families?
Oh, I'm already unmuted. Um, so I think that the focus for healthy families is on the children and the development, and building that parent-child interaction, really. Um, I don't think it would ever be integrated as part of healthy families as much as the population is so needed for doulas. Um, I will say that they would offer a referral. So as long as the workers know of doulas, um, that I know, like if it's offered, um, if there's a known name in the area that could be referred to, it would be. And they would utilize it, and they would definitely offer it to all that's possible. Um, but it's just the more like I said, it's going to be a referral. It would never be joined. Same as WIC, it is government funded. Partially, it's half and half with an agency, and then government funded. So they only have so much wiggle room.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so my follow-up question for that is exploring ways that independent doulas who are qualified to receive reimbursement through Medicaid or other insurance, groups, um, how can those doulas partner with these companies, these services, to be able to be that person? Like, what does it look like to establish that relationship where you are available for the referral? And Brooke, why don't you go ahead first?
Sure. So I think being in the field, opening up yourself for like a free um, hour class for whoever wants to join, and kind of getting your name in there that way. Like, these are our services. These are what you could be offered. These are things if you're interested. And then once you build that relationship, it spreads, and they always have that name on the top of their head if somebody needs something specific, or um, if you have somebody that does need that extra support, they would think. I would say it would more be towards the families that they feel need extra support, as much as a doula is for everyone. Um, and everyone would be open to it. I feel like they would only offer it to the people that, oh, this person needs extra support, or this person doesn't have somebody at home. So really, like, bringing in the knowledge that this is for everybody. Um, Everybody that births that baby, and even the people that have bad experiences, um, it's needed. So just getting your name out there, and the knowledge, really.
And are there, Brooke, to follow up with that, are there, could you point us in the directions of, are there sort of like local healthy family chapters, or is it sort of the broad organization? Like if a doula or, wanted to get in touch to offer an educational opportunity for families and also for, I can envision the representatives of healthy family, like the folks who are going into the families' homes, that would be so great to invite them to, a free class as well.
Yes. Yeah. So the name of the program is the Children's Trust. That's who funds Healthy Families. So that's like the broad children's families is throughout the whole United States. And then Healthy Families is per state. So Massachusetts has multiple. They're not individual towns, but I would say about 10 surrounding towns per healthy family organization. So if you go onto like the Children's Trust website, you could put in your zip code or a zip code in the area that you're looking, and it will send you right to an email or a phone number. So you could connect right with the supervisor.
Fantastic. That's great. Thank you, Brooke.
Yes, of
Um,
course.
yeah, and Ayana, let's have you chime in on this too.
So similar to what Brooke is saying, the there's the main WIC organization where it's based out of like Baltimore or Washington, D.C. or something like that. But then they do have chapters in most cities. In each city, usually they have a chapter. So my suggestion would be, because again, the government loves anything that, if you're saying I'm offering this complimentary or for free workshop or for free, come in to support, to help you support your participants, I think that they would be really open to it. So if it was me, I would contact the main office where all the chapters have to get approval from, and then I would contact the individual directors of the different chapters as well, as it relates to the ones that you want to work in tandem with. And I think they'd be really open to it because they appreciate partnership, especially if they don't have to come out of pocket to have you there, and to, for you to showcase your skills and use them to benefit the participants of the program. I think it's a very, very strong possibility that partnership would be, and collaboration would be welcomed for sure.
And do either of you have an idea if, these organizations have guidance for families on how to get reimbursed for doula care yet? Do they have that information, or is that something that, potentially we in the caregiving field are going to have to help make happen?
To my knowledge, to my knowledge, with WIC specifically, that's something that we would have to pioneer. Um, I think they'd be really open to it though, but it is something that we would have to pioneer. That's not in their, top five of things. They don't, their focus is women, infant, and children's nutrition, and that's their thing. So, but I think that they'd be open to it if they saw how it could benefit their participants and make their agency look better. I think they would absolutely be open to it.
Yeah, for healthy families, I would say that they would also be open to it. Um, they are highly like referral based. They do give a lot of referrals, and a lot of the girls are young. So a lot of times we find them on health, like the state health care. So if it's offered, they're going to offer it. They'll sit with the participant at like a visit if that's something that the participant wants to do and would help get it funded through their health insurance if that was offered. But if it was beyond that, if it was not offered through their insurance, as some states don't, I don't think they would be as apt to. Um, if it's something like more simple and cut and dry, they would. And I also want to say for the workers in the program, there's so many trainings that an organization that is government run has to do every year based on, I think there's like 5 or 6 topics. Um, so if someone um, has like a training or anything that can be offered too, they're more apt to utilize that for their organization as well because they have to have so many. Um, so I'm just wondering too, like, I'm trying to think if this, like the spectrum of a doula, there's so many different aspects and so many different trainings that I feel like everybody holds within themselves. So just another idea to throw out there, if you have more to offer, like these organizations are gonna listen.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, this is, maybe kind of venturing into another sort of area, but I also know that, people are working, like families, sort of their first exposure is with the midwifery groups and hospital-based midwifery groups and the OBGYN groups. And so creating, um, communication and opportunity for those care providers to be recommending insurance reimbursable doula support. So it's so much of our work is about creating that safety net by being part of the community net that's there. So WIC, Healthy Families, the care providers, the places where these families are receiving care. And so making sure that those touch points know about the support that's available that's potentially reimbursable
Mhm.
by insurance is an imperative part of our work. And sometimes I think as we come into this field because we love to care for people and we see this need, and it can sometimes feel scary to put ourselves out there and be the educator and be the networker and be the relationship builder. And yet, you know, again, like I can see the need for it and the prioritization of how that should be first and foremost with us beginning a professional practice or growing a practice is about making those connections and creating the relationships for ourselves as professionals that will enable us to be talked about and referred to and available to the families who really need us. So I just, I remember myself as a new care provider and feeling like that was scary to put myself out there in that way. But I just want a sort of public service announcement, let everybody here and everybody who's listening to this in the future know that you are all a gift to humanity, and your work should be out there. And you talking about who you are and what you offer is doing the world a huge favor. So just get out there and have those conversations. It's not about talking yourself up, it's about talking this work up in a way that's literally going to change the world. So just had to put that out there. Brooke, Ayana, thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to hear from your personal experiences. I think this gives us some really great ideas for how we can start to collaborate with what's going on in our own communities, how we can start to learn more about what our care, how that can be covered by insurance to enable us. It's very important that we as care providers feel sustained, that we are not giving more than we can, that we are being paid for our services. And so this is a really life-changing moment for doulas as insurance is starting to cover this. And so I encourage all of us, and all the information that we have as we start to work with students who have been going through this process, we will continue to share it with our community so we can learn from one another. But this has been a conversation that I've been so excited about, and I'm very grateful to you, Brooke and Ayana. Moj,
Yes.
thank you for your comments, and for all of you for being here. I encourage you, if you are not on our Facebook group yet, to go on there and become a member of it. It's the Postpartum Care Collective Facebook group that will enable us to continue the conversation there as a community. So as we're integrating things, as we're learning things, as questions arise, we've got each other there to continue figuring it all out together. And I wish all of you an incredible day. Keep showing up to these things. Like Brooke said, the more that we put our attention on it, naturally, Ayurveda says it grows. What we put our attention on grows. Where we put our attention is where the prana goes to. So collectively, we're in this. And I thank you all for being here. Have a beautiful day.
Shanti, Shanti.
The Center for Sacred Window Studies has been training postpartum care providers, professionals who work with new families, and individuals passionate about postpartum care since 2018. We regularly host live free events alongside our online and in-person training and certification programs. Hop on our newsletter list to get direct access to all of our events and community support gatherings. Our mission is not only in training conscious postpartum care providers, but in fostering a robust, informed, and thriving community of postpartum professionals. Once you step inside, you're family forever. Visit www.sacredwindowstudies.com to add your email to our newsletter list. You can support our work by subscribing to the Sacred Window podcast and sharing with someone you know who would love it. Thanks for being here and participating in the culture-wide shift that recognizes the need for and the importance of conscious postpartum care.